welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is our recap for the challenge, Ride or Dies, episode 16. My name is Zach. I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey.
You might be saying, hey, episode 16.
Hey.
And the reason we did it this way is, as you all know, going into the end of this season, with the Christmas break and everything, it put us behind and just trying to get caught up. Basically, what we've decided to do is we were trying to figure out if we should do 2 episodes together or just kind of wait around and see. Now that we saw that the final is 3 parts, we're just going to do the final as one big episode. So we were trying to decide if we were going to do 16 and 17 together and then 18 or 19, but we're just doing 16.
I voted against that.
We're doing 16 on its own, and then we're going to do the final as one big episode. So that's what we'll do. Again, the final aired actually last night, the last part of the final, and so that'll come out this weekend when we do that. But we're still, again, we were going to do every episode. It's part of it. Now they've announced the start date of the Challenge World Champions or whatever it's called.
Without knowing what happens in some of the other world championships?
Yeah, they've only announced the Australian and the U.S. cast and then the, legends, whatever you want to call them. But they haven't announced the Argentina cast or the U.K. cast because those seasons
haven't aired yet.
Yeah, and so it almost looks like, if you didn't know better, that they didn't even put people from those shows in this one. But I would say it's not that way. It's very strange. This whole production has been kind of a nightmare as far as bad planning, and then it feels like they didn't have confidence in the final versions of their shows going forward, other than maybe the U.S. one. Although, I will say, I think we've talked about it on here before, some of our patrons have said the Australian season, and this is someone who lives and knows all of the challenge by heart, the Australian season was maybe their favorite season in the last 10 years or so, which is crazy.
That's high praise.
Yeah, and so
that tells me it's good.
Yeah, so I would check out the Australian season if you're interested. The Argentina one, it seems like they don't have any faith in, and then the UK one as well. And I think the Argentina one, if I remember right, I want to say they're playing for a fraction of the money that the rest of them.
What, really? Why?
I don't remember.
How would they change it?
Probably because they didn't really believe it. But I want to say it was only $25,000 or something like that.
No.
Yeah. I mean, again, I'm going off what some of our patrons were talking about in our Slack group, and they were talking about the conversion rate for the money, and it was astronomically low compared to the main U.S. seasons.
Okay, so backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
You said Colombia?
No.
Argentina.
Yeah.
Argentina. Prize was roughly $25,000.
Let me see if I can find the actual thread on it.
What was the prize money for U.S.?
It was either $500,000 or $1 million split between 2 people.
In Australia?
I don't know. I don't know what the Australian one was. Probably similar. I'm trying to find the thread on here because it was from a couple weeks ago.
I will say, just benefit of the doubt. Let's say the U.S. prize money was $500,000. For them to then go to the Argentinian season and say that the prize money is $25,000, what a slap in the face.
Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, the U.S. show was $500,000. The Australia one was $200,000. Argentina was $15,000.
That's even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Because they post, it's January 14th. They posted the promo video, and one of our patrons if I'm reading this correct, they're playing for $15,000. The Extreme Challenge, which is the season 3 from 2001 of the real show, played for $18,000, and that was 22 years ago. And
$15,000 is
not a lot compared to
no.
the rest.
I'm trying to think like what can you get for $15,000? You can get a decent used car for $15,000.
Well, maybe in Argentina you can get a lot more, but
it doesn't matter. Like if it's U.S. dollars, they gave $500,000.
Yeah.
To the U.S. winners to split.
So also like here's the thing. I think Argentina only got their own spinoff, and this is nothing against anyone from Argentina. I think they only got their own spinoff because that's where they filmed all of the other 3 seasons. Was in Argentina.
Still, $15,000.
Again, they don't believe in it. It's not even coming out yet. And then the Australian one got canceled, so they like halfway through there's going to air all the episodes in a row. And it's just been it's not been very well. And from the beginning it hasn't been thought of. It was someone in a marketing department or whatever was just way too high on themselves and was just like, we should do this and call it War of the Worlds, and everyone's like, that's a great idea. Why does that sound so good? And it's because it's already
They've
been done.
already done the War of the Worlds.
So anyway, we're gonna get back into Ride or Dies episode 16. So this is the last episode before the final starts. And so again, that's just where we're coming from on this.
Bananas at this point has flown under the radar all season and
kept a low profile.
It's worked pretty well for him so far. Alyssa wants to finally win a challenge after 20 years of trying, which is a long time to be trying to do that.
Yeah, and if I had to put money on it, I'd say not going to win this one too.
I don't know. At this point, I did say that she and Jordyn seem to work pretty well together.
You also got to remember, they're not real Ride or Dies. They're a fake Ride or Dies pair. They're an amalgamation.
But they are friends.
They're friendly, but they've never been like teammates or partners or like had each other's backs behind the scenes. If anything, they fought on show more than anything in the past, and so they're just one where like his partner dropped out and her partner dropped out, and they're like, oh, they're 2 big names. Let's just say they're friends.
Well, they work pretty well together. At this point, Olivia was glad to see them make it back into the house because she thinks that Alyssa is underestimated.
Again,
hot take.
No, I think rookie take. I mean, again, if you're one, shout out to her for being able to do it for like 20 years or whatever. But if you've got a 20-year resume and you've still never won and your elimination record is basically 50-50, like, I don't think you can be underrated. I think we kind of all know what you've got. If you're a 2 or 3 season player and like you're like, yeah, I think this person's underrated, even if their numbers may have not shown it, whatever. You've got enough of a track record with Alyssa. Like, you know what you're getting out of her.
Well, who else has been on here for 20 years? Bananas.
CT.
Oh, I mean, currently on this season.
Oh, yeah, Bananas. Yeah, and look at the difference.
He's got a lot of wins.
Yeah.
Circling back to Bananas, Fessy and Jordyn actually also realized that Bananas hasn't seen an elimination at all this season.
And by the way, I don't think Bananas hasn't even been on for 20 years, I bet. He probably came around in like 2005 or so. I'll have to look that up, but I don't think he was on in 2003. When you Google Johnny Bananas, it wants to autofill to Johnny Bananas' wife.
He's not married.
I know that. But that's like one of the
he's very much not married.
That was the second suggested thing.
I don't think he's ever been married.
No. I think people just
he's been in
assume.
like long-term relationships.
So his first season was the duel, where he was just John.
Yep. I remember that.
He wasn't Johnny Bananas at that point.
Or even Johnny.
That was 2006. So he's only it's still 17 years, but his first season premiered in October of 2006 and went through January of 2007. But he was only on one episode of that season. So and he says, again, I don't think you can say somebody's underrated.
She said underestimated.
Even that, I think it's not. I think she's properly estimated. Actually, I think if anything, she's probably overly estimated because she's just done it so long that people are like, oh, you're a legend. And really, like, if you look at like what the finals are and like what if you didn't have the big finals, sure, the finals are the killer because it's just endurance and like
strength.
It's tough. It's not just puzzles and stuff.
So you don't agree with Olivia. You don't think
No.
that she's underestimated. You think she's estimated.
I think she's either estimated or overestimated. Because again, like even TJ's like, oh, you don't want to go against Anissa in elimination, and then we looked at her numbers. We did this like 3 seasons ago.
Yep.
And it was like, she's like 50-50 on elimination. She's just done a lot of them. And now this season, it'll bump up a little bit because she's won like 3 or 4, or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Fessy does bring up that Bananas hasn't been in elimination. That's been Bananas' MO since the beginning, is to just avoid elimination as long as possible and then just make it to the final. And then when you get to a final, he's hard to beat. And it's a good strategy if you can do it.
I mean, that's the thing. Once he actually gets to a final, he kicks it into high gear and he just takes over. It's like he's in low power mode throughout the season, and then he walks into the final fully charged. It's
just, again, you can't win 7 of these without knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not,
and knowing how to get there.
It's not a coincidence that he won 7. He's very good at finals. So again, Devin wants Bananas out at all costs because he wants a new champion.
He and Tori have a self-care spa sesh.
Well, it's a Dave spa sesh. They're only referring to each other as Dave.
Yes. Why don't we do that?
Call each other Dave?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking about.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't really remember
You don't like the name?
The genesis of the Dave thing. I think they just said that they just started calling each other that.
Yeah, they talked about it at the beginning of the season. They're like, "Oh, I'm Dave,"
but they didn't really give
and he's Dave.
Yeah,
something happened where they were talking and like one of them just called the other person Dave, and they just went with it. But it's nice to see that they still take some time to do some self-care.
Yeah.
And not only are they just doing self-care, they're doing it together. It's more fun together.
Well,
#together.
They did it, and then kind of going towards this next daily, everyone's still kind of playing up the Bananas angle, which they should. I mean, again, he hasn't been in elimination, and he's arguably the biggest threat in the final.
Well, Bananas can't believe he's the only person in the entire house that hasn't seen elimination all season.
Because even Nani had to go in against Mariah when they were separated and all that stuff. And so then
they played my second favorite Taking Back Sunday song.
A Decade Under the Influence. What's your first favorite?
You're So Last Summer.
That's your first favorite one? That's interesting.
Yeah. But I listen to both of them almost every day.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's so weird just because, like, you will listen to bands now that, like, I bought these CDs, like, when they came out.
Okay, I couldn't because I was in elementary school.
You weren't,
and I didn't have
you weren't in
monies.
elementary school when this came out.
What year?
2006.
I was in 6th grade.
That's not elementary school.
It was at the academy that I was at.
Well, regardless.
It wasn't until I moved and went to a public school that I was at a middle school.
Regardless, it's like the first 2 Taking Back Sunday albums are good for what they are. They're not great, but for like the era and like the music they were going for and all that, they were good. Anything after the next album had like 1 or 2 okay songs, but man, anything after that's been awful. It's just so bad. And like,
okay, but I really liked their first 2 albums.
The first 2 were good, but anything that came out like there's a huge like there was always a huge rift between Brand New and Taking Back Sunday, and it was like you're either more of a fan of one or the other. And I was always more of a fan of Brand New because I was like there's a lot more to them. There's a lot more depth and musicianship and writing and stuff like that. And then they proved it with how they've expanded on all their albums going forward. And Taking Back Sundays have been like, we're just trying to rekindle the same thing.
That's the thing. Like you talked about this before, maybe not on here, but to me,
I don't think we've talked about it on here.
Like if you can't decide which of the two bands to like more, Taking Back Sunday had the best first album, and it got progressively.
I don't agree with that.
No, listen. Out of their albums, their first album was the best.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Yeah.
As time goes on, each album gets progressively worse.
Yes.
Brand New, their first album was okay.
I thought you were saying out of the two, Taking Back Sunday's first album was better than Brand New's first album. And I don't agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. Brand New's first album was okay. But progressively, each album got better and better and better.
Okay.
And
this is very deep for anyone listening. Your Favorite Weapon first album, great pop punk album, but it had like some leaning towards like what they would become with songs like the No Seatbelt song and things like that. But it had Jude Law and Semester Abroad and 70 times 7, which still are some of the best songs they've ever made. Deja Entendu or Entendu, however you want to say it, kind of took them in a different direction. That's where they kind of started departing from what they were. And that album completely changed my perspective on music. And it just hit me at the right time, like when it came out. And I bought it, and I just remember listening to it and just being like, this is what I was looking for, but I didn't know it. Then The Devil Got a Raging Inside Me came out in 2006, because the other one was 2003. And again, just went to a completely other level. And I don't think they've ever topped that. I think The Devil Got a Rage Inside Me is the best album they've ever made.
I think thematically that may be my favorite album that they have, because I like that it's got it's a little heavier.
Oh, it's heavy for sure.
And I lean more towards that.
I mean, it's dark too.
Yeah, I lean more towards that a lot of times. But I really, really liked Science Fiction,
yeah,
too.
But Daisy was after
that.
And Daisy was good. A lot of people really did not like it, but I think it was very mischaracterized. I think it was a slight step back from The Devil Got a Rage Inside Me, and then I think Science Fiction is on par with Daisy. So it's like they went, first album's good, second album's better, third album's even better, and then the next two are equal with like their second album, Deja. You know what? I wouldn't. No, I'd say Deja's better. I'd say this is my ranking if anyone's interested.
Okay.
Because Brand New's been my favorite band since 2001. Devil Got a Rage Inside You, number 1. Deja Entendu, number 2. Then probably Daisy. And then Your Favorite Weapon, and then Science Fiction would be my least favorite, but that doesn't mean it's bad at all. And the only reason I would put it lower than Your Favorite Weapon is just because Your Favorite Weapon was the album that got me into Brand New. And so, and that's like they just kept evolving and coming out with weirder and weirder, and like they're the only band that I've listened to that like evolved with me. And it was like, oh, this came out and it's different, but in a good way. And it was kind of like growing with my musical taste. Taking Back Sunday was just like, what's up, guys? We're going to keep trying again.
They were kind of like a one-trick pony. It worked for them the first 2 albums, and then it just didn't. But again, I still listen to like songs from their first album and some from their second album almost every day. But the point remains the same. Taking Back Sunday started off really hot.
Yes.
And lost momentum.
Yes.
Brand New started off okay, but they gained momentum and they got better over time.
Oh yeah, and their peak was around The Devil and God of Rage Inside Me, and then they kind of lost some of that. But anyway, what's ironic is we went and saw Brand New and stuff. And when we went and saw them, you didn't even really listen to them. And now you listen to them way more. So you didn't really probably enjoy it as much as I did.
I enjoyed Modest Mouse.
And see, I'm a big fan of Modest Mouse, and I didn't even enjoy them that much. And, anyway, their drummer just died, by the way.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the daily's called Frozen Senseless, and it starts with Nani sneezing during a confessional.
My note was Nani sneezes like me.
Yeah, just in the middle of Bananas talking, and they left that in, which I did like that they left that in. And
but she half cough, half yells in this sneeze, and that's what I sound like when I sneeze. And you always think that I'm like hacking something up.
Well, you cough more than anyone I've ever met in my whole life.
But I sneeze a lot too, and it's just something that comes from deep within me.
Well,
the winners of this daily are the only people in the house that are safe from elimination.
Well, and by default, the only people who will for sure go to the final, which you don't know that exactly now, but they had a feeling that that's what it was going to be. Found out that Devin does February ice plunges in a river in Boston. So this ice bath thing is like, he's like, whatever.
He's an ice bath guy for fun.
Yeah.
And I don't know many people like that.
Well, we watched that Yes Theory video where they go to Yakutsk, which is like Siberia, the coldest place in the world. Which, by the way, if you don't know anything about Yakutsk, look it up. And specifically look up the Yes Theory video where they go to the coldest place in the world.
It's one of the coolest videos I've ever seen.
And everything's permanently frozen. It's like negative 31 degrees Fahrenheit, and all their pipes have to be ran above ground because they'll freeze underground. And if you have a car, you have to leave it running 24/7 because if you stop it, there's a very good chance that it won't start back up again because of how cold it gets. And so there's a huge smog pollution going on in the city, but also like their outdoor markets, like all the meat and stuff, it's already just frozen. Like they don't have to worry about it. And then
you leave it out all day, it's fine.
Yeah, and
which is crazy.
The other thing is, if you're in a car, it's because Yakutsk is like 300,000 people, and if you're in a car and you want to drive to like some other area, you have to know for sure that you're not going to have any problems, because they're like, if you leave Yakutsk and try to drive, however many,
miles
away, because there's not any other big cities around, they're like, if your car breaks down, like, or you get a flat tire, or your car, like the engine gives out or whatever, they're like, you're going to die. Like you'll die in the wilderness, like, because there's nothing else around, and it's so cold that there's nothing, people can't get out to you.
You can't just like walk back.
No, and you can't stay in your car overnight. You'll die. And so they're like, that's why a lot of people just don't leave, because
they don't want to risk it.
Yeah. And it's just a wild way to live. Like they for their water and stuff, they have to like buy blocks of purified ice, and then they bring them inside and then just melt them in like a big plastic barrel to get drinking water and stuff. Like it's really, again, Yes Theory, and it's Yakutsk. It's like Yukutz. I don't know. It's Russian, Siberian, but it's a wild way to live. So I don't know if the reason I brought that up is because there's a guy in there in Yakutsk who does an ice bath
every day.
Every single day, he'll break through like 1.5 feet, 2 feet of ice to plunge in the water. And he's like, I've been doing it. He's like, I got sick when I was a little kid, and I heard this helps your immune system. He's like, so I do it every single day. And he's like, I don't really get sick anymore. I don't know if that's true or if that's just happenstance, but maybe he's on to something. I know ice baths help with like muscle issues and things like that with athletes. So who knows?
But again, don't know of anybody that does it for fun. It sounds like the Yakutsk guy does it to not get sick.
Yeah, it started that. I think he does it for fun now just because he's done it every day for like 40 years.
It may not be for fun. It may just be like, he's a creature of habit, and he's been doing it for so long that it's just, this is just part of my daily life.
Yeah.
I just do this.
Well, Horacio, anyway, the daily, it's basically, you got to run opposite sides, one person feels like these blocks, and then they have to explain to their partner in the ice bath how to recreate what they feel. And all the teams are facing each other except Horacio and Olivia are the only team that turns around in the ice bath, so they make sure that they're on the same page as far as like left and middle and right. And that type of
Horacio
stuff.
sits next to Olivia so that she knows the orientation that he sees it.
Because it is confusing, and the ice bath is made to kind of like shock your brain to where you have to kind of short circuit. So you're like, oh God, I'm so cold and my body's having to do all this extra work to heat me up. I'm not thinking clearly. Again, it's I don't mind this daily. I don't think it's like revolutionary or anything, but you know, it seems that obviously Devon's good at puzzles and stuff. The thing you're a little bit worried about with their team is when Tori and I don't even remember who it was with, but on that one big relay where they're going back and forth with like trying to relay puzzle information to each other, they DQ'd when it was still like the two separate teams. And so you're a little worried about that, but ultimately Devon and Tori win.
Well, right before they finish, everyone in their little confessionals keeps saying the phrase, anything can happen, which is true. But my note was, for how much money production is spending on licensing for songs this season, they really missed a window of opportunity to play that Ellie Goulding song.
I don't even know who that person is. I think I know the song you're talking about because it's kind of stuck in my head. But I don't.
But it's literally anything can happen. They should have played it in the background.
Yeah,
if they're going to spend all this money on
I wonder
other
if they have like
songs.
licensing deals. So like Sony Music owns like a huge number of catalogs. Warner Music owns whatever, and I wonder if they have like a deal with one or the other, and they just like choose from like the library because they have to pay for all this stuff.
Yeah,
but I'm assuming maybe they have like a special deal where they're like, hey, you know, we'll just use stuff from your library if you give us a discount or things like that. A lot of people have been really in on the music choices this season. I haven't had a problem with them.
I have enjoyed the music choices for the most part this season.
Yeah.
There's been a few outliers, but for the most part, I've enjoyed most of them.
Well, after Tori and Devon win, Bananas FaceTimes Wes. And it gave Wes a handful of little lower third, you know, designations. But the only one I wrote down was just Wes Scumbag.
Okay, so the first one was Bananas' best friend ever. The next one was Scumbag.
Yeah.
And the next one was internationally renowned genius.
Yeah. I think he would call himself that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, it is like, it's so funny how far their like relationships come to where they just like, they know this is a TV show now. And like, again, the last season they were on together, they had a secret alliance that they kind of played up, which it's good TV. Like it's good the way it all has come around.
Well,
and
part of the reason Bananas decides to FaceTime Wes is because, you know, Bananas has kind of started to come full circle with Devon too.
Oh yeah.
And so after Tori and Devon win the daily, Bananas reflects on the progress of his relationship with Devon.
Well, that's why he called Wes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
He's like, you guys think alike.
So he reflects on the progress of his relationship with Devon, but he also knows that there's always an angle with Devon.
Yeah.
And so in order to try and get into the mind of Devon, he decides to call Wes and be like, okay, what would you do in this situation?
But also, like, people...
but also, Wes is not on this season.
It's a good cameo,
you know,
like, for fans of, like, you know, past seasons, you know, just to kind of see him pop up. Obviously, you know, we're fans of Wes. We've had him on a couple times. I actually talked to him more than any other single person because Wes has been on now for, like, 7 hours or something. Like,
I don't know.
Between the two podcasts, or I think it actually ended up being 3 total podcasts because we had to split the first one into 2 parts. Yeah, I think Wes has been on the most, and then I think his Devon has been on twice. Mm-hmm. But I think maybe total runtime Nehemiah might be ahead of Devon because we talked to Nehemiah for a long time. But you know, all those guys are friends, and like again,
and they're all great.
Yeah, it all works out. So the deliberation, there's not really much of a deliberation because
I mean, Tori pipes up and she tells Devon, I want to be irresponsible. And Devon's fully on board and says, let's be irresponsible.
Well, it's not like they have anybody to choose from. Like all of the other teams are in the interrogation. So it's
Right.
not like they're having to pick anything. So the interrogation, Horacio and Olivia come in first, and they're kind of talking with them, and they want to know who they would save if they're not the pick in the draw, because they want to keep Anissa and Jordyn safe.
Yeah.
And so Horacio and Olivia say they'll pick Anissa and Jordyn. Jordyn and Anissa then come in and are told, like, hey, you're not going to be the pick, obviously, because Tori is so close with Anissa.
And Devin asks them for their opinion on who to pick. And then Jordyn uses this opportunity to remind them how Bananas has not said their names all season.
Well, he brings up that Bananas hasn't gone after them, and he's rooming with Devin, but he also understands why you would want to throw him in.
Right.
Because, again, he's won 7 times.
Exactly.
And he's not gone into an elimination this season. So that's kind of a tough angle to work around if you're Devin and Tori. So then Fessy and Mariah come in, and they just kind of lay out the stats, like, hey, we've done this and this, and Bananas hasn't gone in.
Fessy also says that he has never said their names in 4 seasons. I find that hard to believe.
I can't verify that, and I'm not going to go back and look, but it's possible.
It's possible, but I find it hard to believe that in 4 seasons he has never said either of their names.
He might not have.
It's possible, but hard to fully believe, especially when he was kind of hyperbolic.
Yeah.
When talking about Mariah.
Oh yeah. He definitely was like playing up his loyalty to her and what she's done to him and how wrong he's been by her.
I mean, she had 1 burn vote.
Yeah.
And he said she keeps burn voting like crazy. Every chance that she gets, she's not saving me.
Well, Bananas and Nany come in next, and he says he's basically had a premonition before this season started that Devin was going to make a big move. And, you know, we'll see what happens with that.
He also tells Devin that he FaceTimed Wes before coming in.
Oh, I didn't remember he said that. But again, those guys are all friends. So then the only next thing I have, I know the context of it. I don't know why he said it, but I just have in quotes Orlando style. And I know Fessy said it to Mariah, like, "Oh, we'll take care of it, Orlando style," or something like that.
What does that even mean?
Well, it's just it's funny just because like in the NBA a couple like 2 weeks ago, like Austin Rivers got it from the is he on the Timberwolves now? Yeah, Timberwolves. He got into it with Mo Bamba on the bench of the Magic, and they were going back and forth, and then afterwards on Instagram, Austin Rivers was like, because he was born and raised around Orlando, he was just like, "You don't want to mess with me. Ask the people around here who's in charge of this city or whatever." And it's just like, nobody cares. Like, Orlando's not a hard city.
No,
like,
Orlando is where Disney is.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what people know it for.
And so he's acting like he's the king of Orlando, and people were just like, "Oh, Mo Bamba better not go to Disney World anytime soon." And that when he said Orlando style, that's just what it made me think of. And so we get into the elimination. And
you missed a good quote.
I said Orlando style.
At the night out, Devin said to Tori, "Let's shoot to score. Half court pull up."
That was a good quote.
And then Tori was like, "Let's leverage our power as much as possible." With that half court pull up, that's showing rank.
I think that's where the Orlando style came from, was from the night out, the bar area. He's like, "Oh, so yeah, we do it Orlando style." And it's like, that's not a thing.
Is that a phrase?
No, I think they're just both from Florida. And apparently the only reason that Mariah and Fessy are ride or dies is because they play Fortnite together. Like, they don't really have a real relationship outside of that.
It explains a lot.
Yeah. So the elimination comes around. Devin and Tori decide not to go after Bananas and Nany, and they do pick Fessy and Mariah.
Well, Devin said that he firmly believed that they were the strongest pair left in the game.
Physically, yes.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, yeah, they're both huge. Like, they're both jacked. Like Fessy's, 6'4", and, like, really big. And Mariah, like, she's pretty tall and got like big legs and like works out all the time. Like, she's strong.
I mean, prior to the final, did we have any food challenges?
Fessy had that slingshot thing where finally they felt sorry for him so much that
And
Devin
helped him
him.
Okay, but what
And
I was
he
going
kept
to say,
spitting it back
Yeah.
out without drinking it.
what I was going to say is we know that Fessy can't do food challenges.
Yeah.
So in a final, he would not be able to hang unless Mariah can do it.
Yeah. Again, we don't know.
In which case, if Mariah can put down whatever, like gross fish gut smoothies and stuff, like nobody's business, then yeah, that's Fessy's one big hurdle to get over in a final.
Yeah.
If she can cover that weakness.
But typically a final thing, your partner can't just cover it. Like, it's a 50-50 thing.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get into that when the final recap. But basically Fessy and Mariah are the pick. Horacio and Olivia are the ones who pick the safe dagger. They save Jordyn and Anissa, like you would expect. Although Horacio did have like a weird fake out thing where he's like, Jordyn, Anissa, I'm sorry for saying your name before. And Olivia was like, oh my God, like, what are you doing?
He's pulling a TJ.
Yeah. And so that means Bananas and Nany are going in, which that's best case scenario for Devin and Tori because they wanted them to go in, but also they don't have to be responsible for double crossing them. So it's called Bridget, and this is a tough elimination. Again, it's just you have 2 sets of ropes, and you have 3 wooden dowels essentially, and you've got to build a ladder and work your way up. There's probably 10 or 12 rungs total, and work your way up to the top. And you only can use the 3 dowels that you have, and you can't drop one. And I mean, the thing is, all of them started off rough. Nobody really had a good play on it,
and there's no way to lock in the bars.
No,
they just
it's friction.
They just balance on the rope.
Well, the rope has like little rivets coming out, not rivets, but like some sort of like little bars that the wood can rest on, but they're only like maybe 2 inches long on each side. But the dowels are like cut in a way that you've only got about an inch maybe on either side. And if those ropes move in and out, your dowel's falling.
Yeah, and then you have to start over.
Yeah, and so this is it's funny that I think this may be the first elimination that Fessy has not had a physical elimination, and he loses. He was useless in this. I mean, he's a bigger guy, obviously. Mariah is bigger than Nany. Yeah, but like the thing is, like, Bananas is bigger than Mariah, and he worked his way up. So it's not like
he was the first one to finish.
Yeah, so it's not like Mariah shouldn't have been able to do it either, based on like weight or something. But like Mariah and Fessy, like they couldn't get past like step 3, and
I don't think Fessy could really even get started.
Every time he fell, his foot like immediately was on the sand, like he hadn't even got off the ground. And Bananas works his way up to the top, and he's just hanging there, and they're basically just waiting on Nany at that point. And Nany would get all the way up, and then like 2 or 3 rungs before, something would fall. And
so Bananas got to the top, and Nany was really close to finishing. She dropped the last bar.
Yeah.
If she had gotten her bar on that last rung, she would have won.
But she made it up that 3/4 of the way, like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And then again, if you drop your bar and it hits the ground, you got to start over. And then the last time she's working her way up, she drops one and she catches it on top of her own foot.
Yeah.
And
she catches it between her feet.
Yeah. And it was
which is crazy.
Oh my, like that's no, and so she then worked her way up and they win. Like, and it was like very intense because
it was nerve-wracking.
At any point, you know, who knows? Nany could have kept falling over and over again. But like, Fessy looked useless in this.
Once Bananas and Nany won, like, obviously Fessy never could get up, but Mariah could only get a few
Yeah,
runs
she didn't
up.
get. I don't even think she
so
got
it,
halfway.
it really wasn't even close.
It was more just Nani overcoming, like, I can do this and not drop it. Like,
Yeah.
because Bananas is just waiting at this point. So, yeah, really, like, clutch catch by her, halfway down. And, yeah, I wrote Fessy and Mariah didn't even get halfway ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I did say Fessy handled it better than I expected him to in, like, the post-elimination, like, interviews and stuff.
Their exit interview, Fessy said that he took the loss better than he expected.
Yeah, and better than I expected, too.
He and Mariah both still had a really positive mindset, which was really nice to see. He also said that he was glad that he brought Mariah on to be his ride or die because she taught him a lot, quote, mostly patience.
Yeah, who knows if that's true or not.
And then Mariah just said that he was a really good partner.
Again, like, I don't think either of them would partner up going forward.
No.
Especially
not Mariah, because
she
seems post show premiering
that she's been burned.
Yeah, that she's a lot less happy with him now.
Yeah, I agree with that. So then TJ just kind of looks at everybody and is like, "Let's go to the final." And that's what they were expecting, and so everyone freaks out. And then they play All the Small Things by Blink-182.
Yeah.
Not really sure why thematically. Like, I don't see how that song fits in with, like, going to a final.
It got me pumped up though.
Yeah, I think that they were just like, oh, it's
Blink-182.
Yeah, people will
crank
know
that
it.
sucker up.
So, and then that's where this episode ends.
Yep.
And the next recap will be the final in all 3 parts. And so, who got their head smashed?
You went out of order.
Who smashed some heads?
Who smashed some heads?
Yeah.
Nani.
Okay.
With that strategic catch between her feet.
I don't think it was strategic. I think it was just like, it's just one of those things where it's just a reflex. Like, you just got to react.
But she did it.
Yeah. No, she did. That was clutch. I'll give it to Devin and Tori, just because they were the only ones basically guaranteed after the daily to basically go to the final.
Yeah.
They didn't have to worry about elimination. And honestly, it worked. They got exactly the 2 pairs they wanted in the elimination.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if one of those 2 goes home, that's perfect for us. And so it kind of worked out really well for them, because I think they said this was their first daily win, was this very last one.
Yeah.
And so, like, what a time to, like, come through and,
what
win.
a time to be alive.
So who got their head smashed?
Fessy.
Yeah. I mean,
he was shocked that he and Mariah were the vote for elimination, and then
Orlando
style, they just couldn't even get started.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, it felt like a good elimination just because there was tension there, because it was like, even if Fessy and Mariah weren't doing anything, like Nani, you still had to overcome, like, yourself mentally and physically, pull it together. So I liked the elimination. I'm glad it wasn't Hall Brawl, or something like that.
Yeah. That wouldn't have been fair.
Well, it's just like Fessy so far has only gotten physical eliminations.
Yeah.
And so this was the first time where it wasn't, and they just weren't good. And so, yeah, I think Fessy's the correct pick going into this one for who got their head smashed. So we're unanimous on that one. For this week, we did movies that begin with the letter A.
Mm-hmm. How many do you have?
7, but not.
I have 6.
Not that I'm not sold on 7. Like, I put one or 2 in here that I'm like, you know what? If I don't mention these, it's fine. Okay. So
I've got one that I don't care about.
Let me go first, and then
I could take one off my list and do 5.
I'll go first, and we'll go back and forth, and then I'll end as well. So that'd be 7 and 6.
Okay.
Because I don't think you're gonna have. You might have one of mine, but I don't think you're gonna have any of the other ones.
Okay.
Do you think I'm gonna have any of yours?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting, because I don't.
Keep going.
All right. Well, my first one is Ace Ventura 2: When Nature Calls.
Oh, I knew for a fact that you were going to have that on your list.
I think it's one of the few times where the sequel is better than the original. You know, going back to D2 The Mighty Ducks and Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, which I've also named for those other letters.
Yeah, you did.
Those are sequels that are better than the originals.
You prefaced them both with, I think this is one of those instances, not very often that the sequel's better than the original.
It's not. Actually, I saw Doug Benson on Twitter like yesterday was like, hey, what are examples of like sequels that are better than the original one? And I responded was like D2 The Mighty Ducks,
Sister Act 2
Back in the Habit. I didn't put Ace Ventura because I forgot about it at that point. But yeah, Ace Ventura 2, this Jim Carrey was just like on a tear in the like early to mid 90s. And what's crazy, I saw Ben Schwartz tweet about this the other day. He is like, what's nuts is you don't realize in 1994, Ace Ventura 1, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber all came out the same year.
Man, did he take a day off?
I don't know. Like he had to been work. Like those are three like huge movies.
Trucking those things out.
Yeah, I mean Dumb and Dumber is the best out of the three of those.
What a good movie.
But yeah, like that's crazy. Now this is Ace Ventura 2, which I believe was 96. But I like this one better than the first one. Even though the first one's good to me. Okay. So what's your
A Bug's Life?
I didn't put that on.
It's the very first movie I ever saw in theaters, and I stood up the whole time.
I think the first one I saw in theaters may have been The Lion King.
Really?
No, that doesn't sound. I don't know. That's the first one I remember seeing.
Well, my parents love telling the story. They said that I stood up the whole time and I just laughed as loud and as boisterously as I could throughout the entire movie. And they loved it.
You would have been like 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First movie I ever saw in theaters. It's a good movie.
You were a big fan of Kevin Spacey as a grasshopper.
Yeah.
No, it's good. That's Pixar's second movie. That was their follow-up after Toy Story. And it was like, oh, wow, they can do things other than Toy Story. Like, that was their big, like, push. I haven't seen that movie in a long, long time. But yeah, I think that's a good one. I didn't even see that one on the list, but, I'm not.
I didn't have to see it on a list.
I'm not mad that I forgot it.
You said A, and I was like, A Bug's Life.
Okay, I'm gonna do this one just because I watched it within the last month.
Ooh, I had a feeling you might put this on there.
And it's for a YouTube video, but I had to start with anyway. That'll come later. But I watched Aliens.
It's a sequel.
The second one, which the first one.
You got to think for sequels these days.
Yeah, the first, not Alien, Aliens, which is the second one, because the first one is just more of a horror movie. The second one is, they said, it's more of an action movie, and really, I'd say it's like a third action, a third like suspense horror, and it's not horror and like paranormal, like it's just like there's an alien.
It's aliens.
Yeah, and then the other third is like a drama, and it's from the 80s, and it's 1986, I believe, and it's kind of a genre defining movie that like I've never seen before. I enjoyed watching the like practical effects because like you could tell like they made like miniatures of like spaceships and cars and stuff to do like the moving things, because that was a big thing back then. And it's just funny that this movie's set in like, I don't know, like a few hundred years from now, and like they're still using like paperwork, and then like all their computers are still just like the black screen with the green writing, because that's all they had to go off of.
Yeah,
like they wouldn't know that people do things on like iPads and stuff.
Yeah, today they would do like glass see-through like iPads.
Yeah, and so it's funny to like see like what their version of the future was in 1986, because you have no concept of where technology's going. But yeah, Aliens, you wouldn't watch it with me. I tried to get you to.
No.
But
I'm not going to watch it with you.
Yeah, well, again, that one, I'd say that's a 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay. Anchorman, The Legend of Ron Burgundy.
I have Anchorman on mine. I figured that would be the one we would overlap on.
I thought you might have that one. I have another one that I think you might say. If you remember it.
I don't think so. Yeah, Anchorman, I agree with.
It's a good movie. I like the sequel.
The sequel's okay, but yeah.
Paul Rudd's in it. Steve Carell.
Yeah, no.
I like Lamp.
I love. It got for a while. Anchorman got real burned out because like your dumb friends or even the dumb kid in your high school would just quote stuff like that all the time. Same thing happened with Napoleon Dynamite, all that. And when people don't have a sense of humor and all they can do is just like quote things that they've heard that were funny before, it gets really like unfunny really fast. But for what it was and when it came out, I somehow convinced my mom to take me to see this, and she watched Anchorman with me in the theaters.
How did you do that?
I don't know.
You talk her into a lot I
Yeah, and
I don't know why she goes with it. I don't know why she lets you talk her into things.
She enjoyed it. She thought it was very stupid,
but she kind of has that humor too.
Yeah, my dad would have hated it, but she actually thought it was funny. She thought it was a little dirty at the time,
and that's not her thing.
Yeah, but she did think it was
funny. But like the dumb humor, she does.
I was like 15 or something like that. Yeah, so I did have that one. This is one that I had that I would have cut, but since we overlapped,
okay.
I put Airplane on here, which I don't think you've ever seen.
Is this the one you just made me watch the trailer for?
No, that's a movie just called Plane with Gerard Butler.
Okay.
Airplane is, I believe, from like 1979 or maybe like early 80s, but it was it's a satire, very much like the Naked Gun movies, but before the Naked Gun.
Okay.
And it's just about an airplane pilot and like what happens on the airplane. And they made a sequel to it, but it's considered one of the early like cult dumb comedies or whatever. And this is before PG-13, so it's just PG. And so I don't know how old I was when I rented it. Because like, I've heard of this movie. It's like a classic one. Randomly in the middle of the movie, for no reason other than they just wanted to, there's like a panic happening on the plane because it's turbulent or something. Just a topless woman just runs directly into frame, and boobs just fill the whole frame, and then run out. And I was like, "This movie's PG."
How is that PG?
Because it was the 70s. It was a different time. And I was like, "This is great."
You're awful.
And so yeah, Airplane. I'll show you the trailer for it later. Not Plane with Gerard Butler and the guy that played Luke Cage.
So my next one?
Yeah.
American Psycho.
Okay.
Everybody that knows me knows I really like Christian Bale.
I've actually never seen American Psycho.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, I know. It's one
like
of those other ones.
I've looked for an opportunity to recommend a Christian Bale movie. And
you like that he's a sex addict?
No, but he murders people.
Yeah.
Again, like it's a fantastic movie.
No, I'm sure I would like it. I just never have seen it.
No, it's really really good. I think one of his other movies was one I keep trying to recommend, where it's like his brother gets involved in the wrong crowd and then goes missing, and he's like a Montana lumberjack and like gets a shotgun and like goes after the guys that took his brother.
We watched the trailer. I don't remember what it's called, but
I can't either. I can never remember the name of the movie, but I talk about it to people like once a month. I talk about this movie.
You should probably learn the name of it.
I should, because it's a good movie.
I thought you almost were going to say another very similar, American History X.
What is that?
You don't know what that is?
No.
I was about to say I didn't think you'd seen it. It's from 1998.
Okay.
Edward Norton is a Nazi skinhead.
Okay.
And
I like Edward Norton.
Yeah, he's good in this role. He's very racist in this role.
He's a good actor.
Yeah, and it's where the scene where they have the guy bite the curb and he head stomps him.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's where that comes from.
I don't want that.
You know what I'm talking about though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's American History X. It's about neo-Nazis before it became mainstream. It was in 1998, and it's just about them, and it's got Ethan
Hawke.
No, it's Ethan something. I forgot his name, but the big guy that was Frankie in Boy Meets World.
Oh, I don't know his name.
He's in a bunch. He's in My Name Is Earl, and he's a Scientologist in real life, but
okay,
he's a Nazi in it, and there's like punk bands in it because there was a time where like skinhead punk bands were like a thing, and there was a big division where there was a whole movement in the punk music where Nazi punks F off because they didn't want them around. And It's a very like brutal look at like a guy. I believe they're in like L.A. and how he hates like the black people around him, and like just it's a very heavy movie, but it is a very good movie. Like it's very well made. It's got Edward Furlong in it from like the Terminator 2. You know, it's a good movie, but it's got some rough parts. If you've ever heard of Curb Stomping, it came from American History X.
Okay, so is that your
yeah.
Okay. Another American movie, American Beauty.
I didn't pick that one.
I'm on a
Yeah. I thought you would.
For whatever reason, I'm on a Kevin Spacey
Yeah, you.
thing with these.
No, that's a good movie.
It's a great movie.
I won Best Picture, I think, that year.
It's an incredible movie.
No, it's a good movie.
And you, because I said American Psycho, and you're like, I thought you were going to say another movie, American, and I thought you were going to say it. I thought you were going to say American Beauty.
Also, my next one has American in it, too.
Okay.
My next one is An American Tale, Fievel Goes West.
What is that?
You've not watched that?
Uh-uh.
We were listening to Doug Loves Movies the other day, and it came up.
Yeah, but I don't know it.
It's an animated movie from the 90s about a mouse named Fievel, and it's like his family is like, I don't know if they outright say it, but like they're definitely like a Jewish family who's like being hunted by these like cats, and it's almost like how like the Gestapo like came after the
Oh my gosh.
yeah, and so they go out west, and so this one's set in like the Wild West, and it's good. No, it's a good movie, but it's a kids movie.
Okay.
But it's got some like overtones of like, oh wow. But yeah, there was An American Tale, which was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was An American Tale, Fievel Goes West, which again is a sequel that is better than the original.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people probably just know it as Fievel Goes West, but it's called An American Tale, Fievel Goes West. And it's about this mouse named Fievel, and he's got this big sleepy dog who's the sheriff, and it's a big fat sassy cat who's his friend, and it's a good movie.
Fat and sassy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got one more now because you said Anchorman, so.
Well, I've got two more, but I've got one that I can scrap, and it's not going to hurt my feelings.
It doesn't matter. Just
Air Bud.
I didn't put that on here. 'Cause, like, I watched Air Bud. By the way, I saw a tweet a while back, and it's like, every dog that you saw in a kid's movie growing up is all dead.
Yeah, I don't want to think about it. Air Bud, the first one. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
Pudding Cup for dogs. I didn't know dogs could eat pudding cups.
You got
but they can.
So country just then.
No, I didn't.
Oh my! I'm gonna have to. Okay, I'm looking at the times. I'm gonna have to play this back for you later.
I didn't know that dogs could eat pudding cups.
Pudding cups.
But after watching this movie, he the first
eat chocolate though, right?
And I think they're vanilla.
Yeah, because he can't eat chocolate.
Yeah, but after watching that, I was like, I didn't know dogs could have that. Now I want to go get a whole case of pudding cups and just start giving them to dogs and see if they start playing basketball.
Yeah, I watched. There was a Last Week Tonight thing. That was a web special that John Oliver did only about Air Bud and how like, as you've been viewing it the wrong way the whole time. We watched it together.
Yeah.
But basically how the kid is the villain. And I don't remember exactly about it. Yeah, I didn't put that in here. My last one, I don't think you're going to have Angels in the Outfield.
No, I didn't. That was not my last one.
Did you see that movie ever?
Yes.
Okay. It's a good movie. Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a little kid.
Yeah.
You've got Danny Glover is in it.
Uh-huh.
Tony Danza is in it. Matthew McConaughey, I think, is in it.
I don't remember that.
And then there's someone else I just lost that I had. Christopher Lloyd, like the Back to the Future. He's in it. There's a lot of like good people in it. I haven't watched that movie since I was really young, but I liked it a lot back then. I didn't watch the sequel, Angels in the End Zone, because that seemed like derivative, even as a little kid. So yeah, that's my pick.
Okay.
You got another one?
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted me to say it. Adventureland.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Adrian Brody's in it as well. Matthew McConaughey.
I don't remember that.
And Matthew McConaughey, yeah. There's kind of like the baseball players on the team.
That's a stacked cast.
Yeah, for like a 1996 Disney movie. Adventureland. I saw it once when it came out, and I remember being let down. It wasn't as funny as I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, I think it was. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be, but it was still a pretty fun movie. I mean, it's got an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes, and IMDb has it at 6.8 out of 10.
No, yeah, I mean, when it came out, I was like, it was like Ryan Reynolds is in it, Martin Starr, and
Kristen Wiig,
Bill Hader, and I was like, oh yeah, I was like, this is great casting. I was like, it's gonna be fun, and then I just remember thinking, oh, this isn't as funny as it is just kind of like a drama almost.
It's a comedy drama.
Yeah, it was, and to me, it leaned more that way. I probably need to go back and watch it again. But yeah, at the time, I just remember being let down because I was like, oh yeah, I was like, all these people are in it, and I think,
it was Kristen Stewart in her height,
and I think Ryan Reynolds was in it for like
2
minutes.
seconds.
Yeah, like he was not in it long at all. That's one I would need to revisit. But I did watch it when it came out. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I rented it. So that's your last one?
Yeah, that was it.
Well, we're going to be back this weekend to do the final in its entirety. Because they made it. It is dumb the way that they did a 3-part episode, and then the middle episode was only an hour long instead of an hour and a half. And so it was like they're like, oh, we've got too much that we need to show, but not enough to make the full 3 episodes. So anyway, we're going to do that. We'll be back in probably Sunday, I would assume, Sunday evening to kind of get all this going, and then
during the Celebrity All-Star, no, not the Celebrity, the
All-Star
game,
and then March 8th, the World Championship, the World Championship, whatever it's called, starts. So we'll start doing recaps for that, and
maybe we'll be spoiled by who wins Argentina and the UK.
It won't matter, but yeah,
because surely, even though they haven't aired those seasons yet,
as soon as this season
whoever
airs,
won is on this new season. We're gonna know first episode.
Yeah, they'll have probably the first place, and then like the 2 winners, and then like 2 really good runner-ups, or maybe not second place, but someone who finished well, because that's kind of what they did with the U.S. one. But yeah, we'll be back doing that starting March 8th. And what day is March 8th? Let me look at that.
It's a Tuesday.
Is it? So that means
I don't know.
It's a Wednesday.
Oh, I was close.
So yeah, it looks like those episodes will start dropping on Wednesdays. And so now that we don't have to travel and be gone and get behind for 2 weeks because no internet and ice storms and all that, we should be able to be rolling pretty well with the Challenge World Championships from there.
I hope it's good.
Yeah, I man, I was gonna say
you really choked up about it.
Well,
you hope it's good too.
I was gonna say I read off to you the list of the like legends that are gonna be, and it's a good list.
It's good legends for sure.
I think it's gonna be a pairs season, and so some of the pairs are not gonna be as equal, depending on who you're paired up with.
Yeah.
But again, I am hopefully optimistic about what that's gonna be based on the not the people from the U.S. season, even though I like Danny. Whatever, but based on the real challenge people that they're bringing in, I'm excited about that because they dropped all that information, except that they only listed again the Australian and the U.S. people. They did not mention Argentina or the UK, and there's way too many of the like vets that there's got to be those people on the show as well to match up with. So anyway, we'll be back with that, and we'll be back this weekend with the final recap.
Stay cute.